gallows. Then he'd tug on the suit and do the job. There had been ample and irrefutable damning evidence, and painful, tearful testimony from the dead girl's parents. There had also been the precise recounting of events by Agent Rollie Finnegan. Despite this, in a last-minute courtroom effort, Mo Chesterton, attorney-at-law for Chance Filbert, and closet dice roller, much to the detriment of his anemic bank balance, had stood before the assemblage, red-faced and thumbing his lapels in an effort to draw attention to what he hoped were persuasive words. He'd told the crowd, stinking of sweat, and the weary jury, that Stoneface Finnegan had once more put his charge, in this instance Chance Filbert, in a most dire situation, most dire indeed. Yes, it was true. Chesterton nodded, and he could prove it. The lawyer's pink jowls quivered and drooped suitably. "Hold up your hands, Mr. Filbert, if you are able." With much effort, the smirking killer had managed to raise his palsied hands aloft. Soon they dropped to the mahogany tabletop before him, and his head bowed, exhausted from the strain. Rollie had rolled his eyes then, from his seat in the first aisle behind the prosecution. Not for the first time in the proceedings did he wish he had let his Schofield have its way with Chance when he'd finally caught up with him in that creekside cave in Dibney Flats. All that nonsense could have been avoided. Waste of time, waste of money. But the law was the law, and Rollie told himself if he had wanted to break it, he should have taken the owl hoot trail instead of tracking scofflaws after the war, or gone into politicking, making laws to suit his base whims like those oily rascals in capital towns everywhere. Instead, on that thundering wet morning in the cave 2 months before, after tracking the outlaws for a day and a night, the snout of Rollie Schofield parted the desiccated viney roots draping the entrance. It was then he'd seen Chance Filbert seated inside on a low boulder. He'd watched the oily man a moment, uncertain of Khalil's whereabouts in the dim hole. The close air, scented of warm muck, had forced thoughts of thick, slow snakes and crawling things. Rollie had seen Chance and Fat Khalil ride there with intent, then dismount, tie their horses, and enter the cave. They'd lugged in what they made off with from the train, a small arch-top wooden trunk and a squat strongbox wrapped in riveted strap steel. They'd left their horses lashed to a low jutting branch, saddled and without reach of water. The poor beasts swished and nipped and stamped at a plague of biting flies. For minutes Rollie had wondered if Chance was the only man alive in the cave. Of the two, Rollie had seen only Chance venture out with increasing frequency as the hours dragged by. He'd poked his malformed face between the mossy vines, then, satisfied he was not surrounded, would saunter out more loosely each time, limbered no doubt by drink. Of Khalil there had been no sight or sound. Unless the man had a steel bladder, or there was a back entrance to the cave, which from Rollie's reconnoiter of the region didn't seem likely. He bet himself a bottle of Kentucky's finest that Chance had knifed his slop-gutted partner. Rollie had won the bet when he'd looked inside and saw a massive, unmoving, dark form off to the left, not even snoring. To his right, and babbling in a whiskey stupor, Chance sat atop that boulder, before the flop-top trunk, torn papers all about the muck-rock floor. Intimate letters, unlikely to make it to their destinations. Orders for goods, long saved for by some lonely bachelor dirt farmer or farm wife helpmate, or perhaps awaited countersigned deeds to land and goods, all pillaged for cash by the stunted, drunken Chance Filbert. The strong box had fared better and appeared to be intact. Rollie hadn't heard shots, Chance's favored means of opening locked things. Maybe he had been afraid of a bullet whanging back at him, though Rollie had not credited the man with such forethought. Likely he was saving the strongbox for dessert and pilfering the easiest pickings first. Subduing the killer had been a simple matter of pushing his way through the clingy green vines and thumbing back the Schofield's hammer. The hard, solid